AITA for letting my mom expose my dad after he publicly disinherited me from my own money? My name is Maya, and I am 26 years old. The tone of my father's voice, that terrifying redness in his face, transported me back to when I was 7. It was the same voice he used the day my mother disappeared. Now, 19 years later, he was using it again because I refused to be my sister's emergency babysitter for 2 weeks. Family comes first, he roared. Keep your inheritance, I yelled back. This time I'm the one leaving. My earliest memories are filled with the sound of yelling. My father's voice boomed through our small suburban house, making the walls seem to shake. My mother tried to keep her voice down, probably thinking of me and my little sister, but sometimes she couldn't help but shout back. I was 7 then, and my sister Brooke was only too young to really understand what was happening. I remember seeing my mother brush Brooke's hair one morning, singing softly to her. That was the last time I saw her do that. Later that day, the yelling started again, worse than ever. I heard my mother's voice crack from the strain. You are impossible, Walter. You control everything I do. Who do I even talk to? The divorce happened quickly after that. One day my mother was simply gone. My father told us she had abandoned us, that she had struggled with her own issues and chosen a different life over her own daughters. I was old enough to feel confused and betrayed, but young enough to believe him completely. It didn't take long before my father brought Linda home. She was younger than my mother, always smiling, and clearly adored Brooke. My little sister accepted her immediately, calling her mom within a matter of weeks, but I couldn't do it. Every time Linda tried to hug me or style my hair the way my mother used to, I pulled away. His voice was stern. Maya, he would say, Linda is trying her best. You need to be more grateful. But how could I be grateful? I still had a mom, a real one, out there somewhere. Where was she? Why didn't she call? Why didn't she fight for custody? These questions haunted me throughout my childhood, but I learned to keep them to myself. Linda spoiled Brooke, buying her designer dresses and enrolling her in competitive dance classes. I was invited too, but I always declined. I took refuge in books, spending hours in my room studying. It was easier than watching my sister build a relationship with my substitute mother. Years passed like this. Brooke became more and more Linda's daughter, while I stubbornly remained on the sidelines. But I had a plan. I studied hard, knowing education would be my ticket to freedom. While my sister was being groomed for a life of social events, I plotted my escape through college applications and scholarship essays. Finally, at 18, I was free. College felt like breathing fresh air after being underwater for too long. My dorm room might have been tiny, but it was mine. With no Linda hovering, no father dictating rules, and no constant reminder of being the difficult daughter, I still went home during the holidays, trying to maintain some connection with Brooke. During one of these visits in my senior year, I found her in her room. It looked like a princess's chamber, all pink and white, courtesy of Linda's decorating obsession. I settled into the seat by her window. So, what are your plans after graduation? I asked. Have you thought about which colleges you want to apply to? Brooke was sprawled on her bed, her perfectly manicured nails tapping on her phone screen. Oh, I'm not going to college, she said as casually as if she were discussing the weather. I'm getting married. I almost choked on my coffee. Married? You aren't even 18. When did this happen? She finally looked up from her phone, her eyes shining. Linda introduced me to him last year. His family owns that big real estate company downtown, you know, Donovan Real Estate. They're loaded, Maya, and he's absolutely perfect. But what about your dreams? I reminded her, thinking of the little chalkboard she had as a child. You used to talk about becoming a teacher. She waved her hand dismissively. That was just kid stuff. Linda says I don't need college anyway. She believes a woman's true purpose is to create a family and have children. Why waste time with a degree when I can start my real life now? I gripped my coffee mug tighter, fighting the urge to launch into a lecture on independence. Just think carefully about what you really want, I said cautiously. Not what Linda wants, not what he wants, what you want. She simply rolled her eyes. I know what I want. Not everyone needs to be a career woman like you. The way she said it, as if being a career woman was some sort of character flaw, made my stomach turn. But I stayed quiet. After all, it was her life. After graduating, I found a nice apartment across town and started working as a remote accountant. The job wasn't glamorous, but it paid well enough and gave me the independence I craved. Meanwhile, Brooke married her fiancé in a lavish ceremony that Linda orchestrated down to the last crystal champagne glass. Within a year, my little sister was already a mother, with her baby boy arriving right on schedule. A year later came her daughter, and that was when my peaceful life began to fall apart. The first time Brooke showed up unannounced, she was wearing designer activewear that probably cost more than my monthly rent. She carried 2 diaper bags and looked perfectly put together despite supposedly being an exhausted new mom. "I have a spa appointment," she announced, already dropping the bags in my living room. Before I could even speak, she was giving instructions. "You'll watch them, right? Thanks, sis. Her son just ate, and her daughter might need a diaper change soon. Oh, he likes his stuffed elephant for nap time. It's in the blue bag somewhere." Before I could process what was happening, she was gone, leaving me with a toddler and a baby. This became a regular occurrence. Brooke would show up with some urgent appointment, a lunch date, or a shopping trip, dropping off the kids as if they were packages to be delivered. The real shock came when she and her husband decided to take a romantic getaway. Without warning, without asking, they simply appeared at my door with the kids and enough supplies for 3 days. The constant interruptions were driving me crazy. My accounting job required concentration and attention to detail, something nearly impossible to maintain with 2 little kids running around. Every time I settled into a spreadsheet, there was a cry, a crash, or a little voice saying, "Aunt Maya, I'm hungry." I tried to adapt. I tried working early in the mornings before Brooke's surprise visits. I tried working late into the night after the kids finally went home, even on weekends when I should have been resting, but it wasn't enough. My boss had started to notice mistakes in my work. Small mistakes, yes, but mistakes that could have serious consequences. One day, as Brooke dropped the kids off for the 3rd time that week, I tried to reason with her. "Why don't you ask Linda and Dad to watch them sometimes?" I suggested. "Or maybe his parents." "Dad's always at work," she replied, already halfway out the door. "And Linda says the noise gives her migraines. Besides, you're so good with them." I watched her walk away in her perfectly ironed designer outfit, not a hair out of place, and fought the urge to scream. She couldn't handle them alone all day, but somehow I was supposed to manage them while working full-time. The breaking point came on a Tuesday. I had a crucial deadline, and her son was particularly energetic that day. I looked away from my laptop for just a moment, just a second, to stop her daughter from eating a crayon. When I heard the thud, her son had been jumping on the couch, something I had told him countless times not to do, and had fallen. He seemed fine at first, but by the time Brooke came to pick them up, an ugly purple bruise had spread across his shin. The moment she saw it, she exploded. "What the hell, Maya?" she screamed, making both kids start to cry. "I trust you with my children, and this is how you watch them?" He could have been seriously hurt. I tried to defend myself. "Maybe if you actually took care of your own kids," but she cut me off. "I knew I shouldn't leave them with you. You're so irresponsible. What were you doing?" "Too busy with your precious spreadsheets to keep my son safe." Something inside me snapped. Years of resentment, of being taken for granted, of being expected to put my life on hold for everyone else's convenience. It all came pouring out. My voice was deadly calm. "Leave. Take your kids and get out of my apartment." She looked shocked. "Excuse me." "It's over," I said, my voice firm. "I'm done being your free babysitter. I have a job, a real job that pays my bills. I can't keep dropping everything because you need a spa day or lunch with your friends. Hire a professional nanny." I practically pushed them out into the hallway, ignoring my sister's stunned expression and the kids' confused tears. The moment the door closed, my phone started ringing. It was my father. He didn't even wait for me to say hello. "What the hell do you think you're doing?" he roared into the phone. "Your sister is crying her eyes out. How dare you treat her this way?" "If she doesn't like how I watch her kids," I replied sharply, "she can watch them herself. You will apologize to your sister immediately. This kind of behavior is unacceptable." Unacceptable? I couldn't believe it. What's unacceptable is dumping your kids on someone without warning, and then getting mad when they can't provide professional childcare while working full-time. His voice dropped to that dangerous tone I remembered from childhood. Listen to me closely, young lady. If you don't start showing your sister more respect and treating your family better, you can forget about your inheritance. I'll leave everything to your sister. After this threat, I knew I needed to handle things differently. The constant tension was not good for anyone, especially the kids. So I swallowed my pride and called my sister. Hello, I said when she answered, my voice carefully neutral. Can we talk? She sounded surprisingly calm. Actually, I was going to call you. I might have overreacted a bit yesterday. We met for coffee at a neutral spot, the little cafe halfway between our apartments. My sister looked tired, her perfectly groomed facade slightly cracked. Look, I started stirring my latte. I love the kids, you know I do. But I can't keep dropping everything at a moment's notice. I need to be able to plan my work schedule. She nodded slowly. I get it. I guess I have been taking advantage of you. We worked out a system. She would give me at least 24 hours notice before bringing the kids. No more leaving them at the door. No more surprise weekend stays. We would stick to a regular schedule, Tuesday afternoons and Thursday mornings, when I could properly plan my workload around childcare. Things improved after that. The kids kept coming over, but on a predictable schedule that allowed me to organize my work accordingly. I even started to enjoy our time together more, now that it wasn't forced upon me. As Christmas approached, I made plans with my college friends for a ski trip to Colorado. It would be my first real vacation in a long time, no work, no family drama, just snow and freedom. When I heard Brooke was planning a family trip to Europe, I thought it was the perfect time. Surely a family vacation meant the whole family, kids included. 2 days before my departure, I stopped by my sister's house with Christmas presents for the kids. The living room was in chaos, suitcases everywhere, clothes spread out on every surface. My father and Linda were there too, with Linda directing the packing like a general organizing troops. The kids opened their early gifts. These are so cute, Brooke exclaimed. They can play with them while they stay at your place over Christmas. I froze, my coffee mug halfway to my lips. What? Oh, it's going to be amazing, she continued, seemingly oblivious to my shock. His college friends are meeting us in Paris, and then we're hitting the ski slopes in Switzerland. No kids allowed. It'll be just like the old days. My voice was slow and deliberate. I'm leaving on a ski trip tonight with my friends. I've had these plans for months. The tension in the room was so thick you could cut it with a knife. I saw my father's face take on that familiar red shade that always preceded an explosion. He stood up from his armchair. I don't care in the slightest about your plans, he spat. And that was when he yelled the words that started it all. When are you going to grow up and realize that family comes first? Taking care of your sister's children is your responsibility. My voice was incredulous. My responsibility? Since when is it my responsibility to be her full-time nanny? Linda stepped forward, her face a mask of disapproval I had become all too familiar with over the years. Maya, you can't simply put your selfish desires above family plans. What were you thinking? Making vacation arrangements without consulting any of us. That's not how a family works. I let out a harsh laugh. Consult you? How ironic. Did any of you consult me before planning your European vacation? Did anyone even think to ask if I was available to watch the kids? My sister chimed in, balancing her daughter on her hip. We shouldn't have to ask. You're their aunt. Then why don't you ask their grandmother? I pointed at Linda. She's family too, isn't she? Linda's perfectly maintained expression cracked slightly. Don't be ridiculous. It's impossible for me to watch them. It's too demanding at my age. She smoothed her designer blouse. Besides, your father and I are going on the trip too. Of course you are, I muttered. So everyone gets a vacation except me. This was when my father roared. This was when he threatened me with the inheritance. And this was when I blew up. You know what? Keep your inheritance, I yelled, grabbing my coat. I'm sick of being threatened. I'm sick of being manipulated. You can all go straight to hell. The door closed behind me with satisfying force. My hands were shaking as I drove home, but I felt lighter somehow, as if I had finally broken free from invisible chains. I devoted myself to packing and went to meet my friends, turning off my phone as we headed for the mountains. It wasn't until I was in our cozy cabin that night that it occurred to me to check the security camera feed I had installed after too many surprise visits from my sister. They had all been there, my father pounding on my door, Linda trying to look through the peephole, my sister rocking a crying baby while her son sat on the floor playing with his toy cars. They had stayed for hours, alternating between pleas and threats, clearly unable to process that I had actually chosen myself over their demands for once. My phone buzzed constantly during the first day of vacation. I had silenced all its notifications, but I could still see the numbers climbing. 27 missed calls from my father, 43 from my sister, 15 from Linda. Voicemails and texts piled up, each more desperate than the last. I accidentally played one from my father before deleting it. His voice thundered through the speaker. "If you don't call back right now, young lady." Linda's texts were a masterclass in guilt tripping. "I have never seen the kids so upset. How could you abandon your own family on Christmas? Your poor sister is devastated. Is this really the kind of person you want to be?" My sister's video messages were the worst. Her perfectly made-up face was streaked with tears, her daughter crying in the background. "Please, Maya. We can't find anyone else on such short notice. I'll pay you double what I usually do." I turned off my phone completely after that. My friends noticed my tension and suggested we hit the slopes early. The bite of the cold air and the adrenaline rush of skiing helped clear my head. On the third day of our trip, my cousin Jenna sent me a message. "I just heard what happened. Don't worry too much. Linda finally found someone through her country club friends to watch the kids. A retired teacher or something. She's charging them a fortune though. I guess professional childcare isn't so cheap after all." I couldn't help but smile at that. They had finally been forced to face the reality of what their constant demands had been costing me. When I returned home a week later, my social media notifications were blowing up. My father had made a lengthy public post featuring old family photos of him with Brooke and me as children. "It pains me to write this," it read, "but today I officially disinherit my eldest daughter, Maya. She has betrayed not only me but our entire family, abandoning her sister and young nephew and niece on Christmas to pursue her own selfish desires. A true daughter would never put her own wishes above her family's needs. From this day forward, all my properties and assets will go to my youngest daughter, Brooke, who understands the true meaning of family loyalty. Maya is no longer welcome in our home or our lives." The post had hundreds of reactions, mostly from my father's business partners and church friends, all offering condolences and condemning my selfishness. Linda had shared it with added commentary about ungrateful children and how modern values destroy family bonds. I stared at the screen for a long moment. Then I closed the app without liking, commenting, or sharing. Let them have their public tantrum. I had work to do, and for the first time in years, a quiet apartment all to myself. A week after my father's dramatic social media announcement, I received a message that made my heart stop. The notification simply said, "Catherine Pierce wants to connect with you." My mother's name appearing on my screen like a ghost from the past. Her message was long and carefully worded. "Maya, I saw your father's post. I know it has been many years and I have so much to explain. Would you be willing to meet with me? I will understand if you don't want to. But please know I have never stopped thinking about you and Brooke." My hand shook as I read the rest. She had been following our lives through social media all these years. My college graduation, Brooke's wedding, the birth of my nephew and niece. She had been there, watching from a distance, unable to contact us. I agreed to meet her at a quiet cafe across town. As she walked in, I recognized her immediately. She looked older than in my memories, of course, but her eyes were the same. When she hugged me, I caught the faintest hint of the lavender perfume she used to wear when I was little. "I am so sorry, Maya," she said as we sat down. "I know an apology cannot make up for all these years, but you need to know the truth." The story she told me made me feel sick. My father had been systematically pushing her away from us, all while painting himself as the victim. He had sent her photos and videos of us with Linda, birthday parties, school events, family vacations, along with messages about how happy we were with our real mother. "Look how well they are doing," Linda would write. "She is such a wonderful mother to them. They don't even remember you anymore. Why would you want to disrupt their lives now?" She pulled out her phone, showing me years of messages from my father, each more manipulative than the last. The girls call Linda Mom now. You would only confuse them if you tried to come back into their lives. Maya is excelling at school. Linda helps her with all her homework. She has completely forgotten about you. Brooke asked why she doesn't look like her mommy Linda. We told her she looks like her daddy. She is so happy with that answer, don't ruin it for her. But the biggest revelation was about the money. My mother had been sending substantial child support payments all these years thanks to her successful career as a corporate lawyer and her marriage to a wealthy businessman. Your father and I had a legal agreement, she said, her hands trembling as she stirred her untouched coffee. All the child support I paid for you was supposed to be put into a trust for you when you turned 18. It was enough to buy a small condo to give you a head start in life. He promised me he would tell you. I thought about all the times my father had used his inheritance to threaten me, using it to control me. All those years he had been threatening to withhold money that was not even his to begin with, money that had come from the mother he told me had abandoned us. That night I sat in front of my computer, my fingers hovering over the keyboard. Then I started typing. In response to my father's recent post about disinheriting me, I feel compelled to share a few truths that have recently come to light. For years, I believed what my father told me about my mother, that she abandoned us, that she didn't want us, that she chose another life over her daughters. I believed him when he said we were better off without her. Today I discovered that every word was a lie. My mother never abandoned us. She was pushed away by a man who used manipulation and lies to maintain control over his daughters. While he painted himself as our savior, he was secretly receiving substantial child support payments from our mother, money that was legally meant to be given to me in a trust when I turned 18. Instead, he held this money over my head for years, threatening to withhold his wealth if I didn't comply with his demands. He sent our mother photos and videos of us with our stepmother, telling her we were happier without her, that we had forgotten her, that we called another woman mom. He convinced her that contacting us would harm us psychologically, all while she watched us grow from a distance, sending money she thought would secure my future. To my father, keep your money. I don't want an inheritance built on lies. I want nothing from a man who could so cruelly separate little girls from their mother for his own gain. To those who commented on his post about family loyalty, you do not know the whole story. You never did. The replies poured in immediately. Relatives I hadn't heard from in years expressed their shock and disgust. Old family friends reached out with their own stories about my father's controlling behavior. Several of his business partners quietly unfriended him. His message came late that night. Maya, you have gotten everything wrong. I was only trying to protect you girls. If you let me explain. I blocked him without reading the rest. Linda tried to call next. Then Brooke. I blocked them too. It hurt to cut ties with my sister, but watching her become a reflection of our father hurt more. Her sense of entitlement, her manipulation, her absolute certainty that she was always right. She had learned well from him. My mother helped me find an apartment in her neighborhood, insisting on buying it outright. Now 6 months later we have dinner together 3 times a week. She tells me stories about my early childhood, filling in the blanks in my memory. Sometimes we look through her old photos, ones I had never seen, of her holding me as a baby, teaching me to walk and reading to Brooke and me. Recently my mother asked me, "Do you think you'll ever speak to your sister again?" I thought about her, about how painstakingly my father had molded her in his image. Maybe someday, I said, if she ever learns to think for herself, but I'm not holding my breath. For now, I'm focused on rebuilding my relationship with my mother, reclaiming all those lost years. I am learning that family is not about obligation, control, or threats. It is about love, respect, and truth. Qualities I never found in my father's house, but that I discover every day with my mom. Sometimes I still get messages from my father's allies, his friends, church members, distant relatives who think I should forgive and forget. I delete them all. I have spent enough years living under the weight of other people's expectations. Comment. I think what really stays with me from stories like this is the power of finally choosing yourself. Setting boundaries isn't about pushing people away. It's about valuing your own peace and well-being. Your energy is precious, and you have the right to decide who gets to share it. Real love and kindness in a family should feel like support, not a list of obligations. We all have a responsibility to build the life we want, without making it someone else's burden. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from a situation that no longer serves you to make room for healing. It's never too late to find your truth and build new, healthier connections. Remember to treat yourself with the same compassion you so freely give to others. I hope you always find the strength to honor your own journey and choose what brings you peace. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.